This is not a cooking tutorial, and also we're not going to do any meal prep here. This is a structure tutorial. I'm going to show you how I cook dinner even when I don't want to cook dinner. Now, I like cooking a meal for friends or making one of my mom's comfort dishes, as a little pick-me-up. I just don't like cooking when I have to cook. I don't like cooking and washing dishes every day just to survive. And I know cooking's important, but it's something that a lot of us struggle with, especially the getting started part of it. And I hear you, but Jag, what does this have to do with creativity? Well, listen, to be creative, you need two things. You need time and energy. And to have energy, you also need two things. And those two things are eating well and sleeping well. Don't shoot the messenger. So I'm going to show you how to cook dinner when you don't want to cook dinner. And this structure can be built upon and should be modified to fit your specific diet or your favorite foods. Now also, if you stay to the end of this video, I'm going to show you what I have in my pantry and what I usually get at the grocery store, which helps me avoid decision paralysis when I go to the grocery store and also staying under budget. My goal here is to teach you some basic strategies to reduce the friction to get started on cooking, avoid decision-making paralysis, and also have less dishes to clean so that cooking is an easier task to get started. So let's get started. So the perfect plate, according to nutritionists, is composed of 1/4 of a plate of protein, 1/4 whole carbs, and 1/2 veggies. So that's what I use as a reference, meaning that on any given day, I'm cooking at least 3 separate things. Now, a little side note here, I try to structure my dinner making habits by reducing choice as much as possible. So I'll be talking about the staples of my dinner, which, if we're being honest, are not a lot and can get a little repetitive. But remember, this is about survival, not a Michelin star. That said, let's get started with carbs. Now, 1/4 of your dinner plate has to be dedicated to carbs. Now, these can be things like whole wheat pasta, certain grains, brown rice, and I have boiled all those down, to 2, which are brown rice and quinoa. Sometimes I'll make potatoes if I'm feeling fancy, but it's mostly just those 2. And the way I do it is by tossing them in the rice cooker and forgetting about them until the switch goes clack. So for example, I'll take 1 cup of brown rice with 4 cups of water, add some salt, and maybe a cube of vegetable stock if I'm feeling like the rat from that movie with the rat. Same with quinoa. Check the instructions in the back of the box. And that's that. Set it, forget it, 1 portion down, 2 to go. Let's talk veggies. So the largest portion in your plate has to be the veggies, and there's an infinite amount of these, so it can be a little daunting to know where to start if it's not something that you're used to cooking already. For me, I try to limit my options, and there's that concept again about limiting decision making and choice. I limit my options to things I can roast. That way I can do the rice in the rice cooker, do the protein in the skillet, and use the oven for the veggies. That way I'm not stepping on my own toes. Because like using 2 stovetop burners at the same time stresses me out for some reason, so screw that. Anyway, this is what's on my dinner plate on any given night, usually. I'll have 2 bell peppers or a head of broccoli or some carrots, some green beans, zucchini, or maybe cherry tomatoes. I'll slice them, toss them with some olive oil and salt, and then throw them in the oven for 20 minutes at 400 Fahrenheit or 210 Celsius. Sometimes I'll slice up half an onion in chunks and add it to the mix for some additional flavor. And that's the oven method, but sometimes I do it a lot easier and use the cherry tomatoes or some sliced radishes, toss them with some lime juice and salt, and let them sit while I prepare the rest of the food. Just let it marinate while your rice is cooking and serve when it's ready. So now your veggies are in the oven. Let's take a look at what the protein portion of your plate is going to look like. Now, protein can be stuff like chicken or beef or fish, little fish, And if we're talking about meatless products, it's stuff like tofu or chickpeas or soybeans. Now, my rice is cooking over to the side, so what I'll usually do before I get started on the veggies is I'll take, like, for example, I'll take my chicken and lightly salt it and just set it aside for 10-15 minutes. That's going to really pump up the flavor without having to prep it like a day before. Now, like I mentioned, I do this right before I start prepping the veggies, so by the time the veggies are ready to go into the oven, the meat is salted and ready to be cooked. So I don't eat a lot of fish, but I do eat tuna. So if it's tuna day, I'll usually just take it out of the can, toss it with some mayo and some mustard, a little salt if you want, or lime juice and salt, and that's it. Now, I've preheated my skillet, and after 10 or 15 minutes, the salt has done its job. So I'll add spices to the meat depending on what I'm feeling like. Sometimes that means adding a spice rub to it, or paprika, or thyme, or hell, even just a generous helping of pepper. Then I'll add some oil and butter to the skillet and cook it for 5 minutes each side. And beef and pork have different cooking times, but not by much. So just quickly look online for what you're trying to cook. If I time all of this right, my veggies will be ready as soon as I take the chicken out. And here we go. Dinner is ready. And that took me, 30 minutes tops, and for 20 of those, I was doom scrolling on TikTok. And this is the process for my involved cooking method. There's 1,000 ways to cut corners in a healthy way if you're just not feeling up for it. Some nights I really don't feel like slicing a pepper or waiting for the rice cooker, so I'll cheat. And that doesn't mean that I'll order in, which does happen a lot, but it means that I'm gonna make quicker versions of this. For example, a pasta dish with a jar of sauce from the grocery store, or a tuna melt, or a grilled cheese sandwich, or, and I can't believe I'm admitting to this, a bowl of cereal. I'll slice a banana on top of it and call it a day. Remember how I said you need time and energy to be creative? Now, food provides the energy, and while it cannot provide the time, this sort of structure and habit can help you save some time in the long run. So eventually, once this becomes a habit, your body is going to know that at 7 p.m., for example, it is time to make dinner, and by the time 8 p.m. rolls around, you have a full belly and the rest of the night to fuck off and do whatever. This means you have more time to relax, more time to be creative, to enjoy your projects, and a lot more energy. Now, I promised at the beginning of this video that I was going to show you my pantry essentials, and the time has come to make good on that promise. Now, very simple. I try to have simple ingredients that are easy to find, so it's not like region-specific truffles or blood of virgins or whatever. Now, here's the stuff I make sure that I have on hand. Cutting boards, a sharp knife, salt and pepper, obviously, olive oil for the veggies, cooking oil like canola for the meat, butter, milk, cream, stock to make sauces if I need to, eggs, spices like paprika, thyme, onion, and garlic powder, actual garlic, lemons or limes. I grew up in Latin America, so limes always taste closer to home to me, and doggy treats. Now, for people like me, it's a lot easier. I live in a walkable city, so it's a lot easier for me to just think what I want that day and then go down to the grocery store and get it. But if you follow these tips, it's going to take the guesswork out of those grocery trips, and it's going to help you stay under budget and not buy stuff that's going to go bad. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for you. I wish you carve out the time that you need to be the artist that you know you can be. So, get started on these habits, save some time, and bon appetit. If you have any specific ingredients that you want to cook and don't know how, let me know in the comments and, we'll get lunch about it. Or drop a quick message to say hello. It's always nice to see when something connects with people. Thank you.